Hello, welcome to Keith's Pi Tutorials. I'm Keith Ellis. Today I'm going to take you through a few tips for soldering. Recently I did a tutorial on using the Ryanteck Debug Clip and installing it on Mac. Now, to get it up and running, it comes as a kit, so I had to solder it up. So during the course of me soldering it, I actually filmed it and gave a bit of a running commentary on what I was doing and a few tips here and there. So I thought it would be good to put that out as a little soldering tutorial. So here we go. So I've got the Ryanteck Debug Clip here, the RTK 000006. So that is it's a serial console cable basically for the Raspberry Pi, but instead of the standard sort of fiddly wires you've got to plug onto individual pins, it hooks over the GPIO port, making it nice and easy to connect, and connects up with a USB cable. It's got the USB port in there. So let's open it up. And see what we've got. It's the USB port. We've got the circuit board, the IC does all the clever work, a couple of LEDs, a green and a red, a jumper, a couple of resistors for the LEDs, a diode, and a polyfuse. So normally the best thing to way to solder a circuit board is to start with the smallest items first and then build up. If you put a bulky item on here and then try and solder on a resistor, it could be fiddly. You'll turn it over to solder and it could fall out. Or, if you start with smallest items first, you can put the resistors in there, and the board holds the resistor in place. So let's get going. So let's bend the wires of the resistor, poke them in. Both resistors are the same. I haven't checked the circuit, but I believe they're just current limiting resistors for the LEDs. So let's push that in there nice and tight. Bend the leads over, that keeps it in. Same again for the other resistor. So that goes in there. This is R2, previous one was R1. Push that in there nice and tight. Now, got a bit of blue tack here, or white tack. It's handy to have. You can do two things. Hold your workpiece down to the board, and you can also hold the components into place. I'm just going to put that over the top of the resistors there. Let's try and get the glare off that a bit. So I've got, this is just the cheapo soldering iron from Maplin, which does okay. I've got a chisel tip on the end there. I find them best. If you hold it on an angle, it will heat up the leads as well as the pad. Solder tends to flow to heat, so you need to make sure everything's nice and hot, and then the solder will flow well around the joint. When joints go wrong, it's quite often when you haven't heated something up nicely. You just force the solder to melt, and you can end up with a dry joint. So I'm just going to get a bit of solder on there and clean it off with the sponge. Let's just make sure that's nice and hot. And hold it on the pad and the lead and just dab the solder on it. Keep it there for a second to let it flow. It's important to keep, push that down a bit more. It's important to keep the soldering iron on after you take the solder off to make sure it flows into place. So blue tack can get a bit sticky. Let's take that off, make sure it's all off. So you should see a nice shiny solder joint. Got a feeling I haven't put quite enough solder on this bottom resistor here, so I'm just going to tap a bit more solder on top of that. That's that one there. So the solder's come through on this side, you can see a nice shiny joint. It's flowed well, and we'll just snip them off. I'm not going to snip them too close, you don't want to stress the joint, just chop the wire leads off. Okay, that's the first components. Next I'm going to do the diode, which is this item. This is got a polarity. There's a silver end to it all the way around, and that lines up on the board there. You'll see this end has got a white line, so the diode matches that white line. Let's poke that in there. Fits in there nicely. Again, we'll just double check I put that in the right way. Yes. And there we go again. Make sure the soldering iron touches the board and the lead, and touch the solder to the opposite side. And when it's hot enough, it'll flow round. It's nice and shiny. That's fine. Snip them off. Okay, next I'm going to do the IC. I think that's the next highest thing. So quite often the ICs, the legs are splayed out a little bit. Let's try. So I'll get one set of legs in, but the other legs won't. So nice trick here. So just hold it on the board. Just bend the whole chip over slightly, do the same on the other side. Try and get them a bit parallel, bends all the legs at once. And the IC has polarity. There's a little dot which denotes pin 1 up here. So that that matches this notch up here, so it fits in there nicely. Again, so what I do with RCs, we'll just do one pin first, make sure it's in properly. As if it's fallen out a little bit, what you can do is hold the IC and heat that solder joint up and push it in fully, and then let it cool down, and it will and be in the right position. So I'm just going to do the opposite end now. This will probably be fine, but just going to do the opposite end. Trouble is, if you do all of one line and then you find it's not inserted properly, it's a bit of a pain to try and then get it seated properly. So that's fine, that's held in position. I can then just run along all the remaining pins. Again, make sure the soldering iron touches both the board, the pad on the board and the pin. Keep the iron there for a little bit to let the solder flow, that's important. And don't worry too much about these components, they're designed to get hot. So as long as you're not leaving the iron on there for 10 seconds at a time, you should, normally be okay. And the solder mask on the circuit boards does a pretty good job at keeping the solder where it should be on the pad. So we can see the solder's flowed through nicely on each pin. Looks pretty good to me. Right, next job, I think I'm going to put the so this has got two big pins, which is the shield, and 4 pins are the data pins in there. So make sure they all fit in there. It looks like we need to just bend the big pins in slightly. And that fits lovely. I'm just going to put that in there to hold down the board. And because these pins are shield, is the shield here, when we put soldering on it, the heat's going to go into the shield and it's going to dissipate away from the joint. So on joints like this, you're going to have to hold the soldering iron there longer to actually get the raw quiet heat into the joint. So hold it on there a bit longer, and don't be tempted to just melt the solder on the tip of the iron. If the joint's not hot enough, you'll have a great big blob of solder on there, but it won't the joint won't be hot enough, so it won't have flowed to where you need it to go. You can see it's taken a while to heat this up. It's not the best soldering iron in the world. Just put a dab on there to make sure it conducts nicely. There we go. So just again check it's seated nicely, which it is. Solder on there, and we'll just do this other one. So when it's hot enough, as long as you put the solder on the opposite side, that's going to lovely. It's already warmed from the previous joint. And we can do these smaller pins, they'll be a lot quicker. And because we put a lot of heat into that, and that's going to be hot, so just be cautious. So we're getting that. So I think I should have probably done the jumper first. So the little pins going first. I'm just going to use this blue tack to hold that on the side there like that. And again I'm going to do one pin, make sure it's square, this jumper's going to be a bit awkward. And it can always be adjusted if we've only done one pin. So let's do the one pin. You can see it's a bit wonky. So I'm just going to heat that joint up and move it. That's fine. Now I can do the second pin. Right, almost there. So just going to try and get rid of a bit of this blue tack. Right, this polyfuse again hasn't got polarity. So let's just put that in there, hold it in place. Oops. And trim them leads off. Just the LEDs now. So there's a plus sign in there, so the two pluses go into the centre. So the pluses are the longer of the leads. You'll see the shape of the LEDs and actually round on the board, and that matches the shape of the actual LED as well. The LED should have a cut out of it, so let's put that in there. So there's RX and TX, receive and transmit, so the two long leads go together. So you put these LEDs in whatever way you want. So in my case, red's going to be receive, green's going to be transmit. And you can see there the two long leads are in the centre. And once again, I'm just going to solder one pin of each to make sure they're nice and square on the board, and then checking I've got the right clarity right. I have. Right, so actually got quite small pads on this board, but not too bad. So I've done one pin on each. Let's take the blue tack off. You can see they're not quite in there properly, so I'm just going to heat that joint up, push it in with my thumb. Wait for it to cool, same in the other one. So the LEDs are now nice and square in there. Just hold the board down. So I'm going to do the opposite leg now. And then just redo the first leg to make sure that's got a good joint on it. And that is the job done. We've just got the jumper, which is optional. I believe that is on. I have to check the instructions, but I believe if that is on, the USB powers the Pi. If you take it off, it doesn't power the Pi. So nice little board there, and I'm going to give it a go on the Pi in a minute. From what I believe, this IC that Ryan's chosen doesn't need any drivers on a Mac from OS X 10.7 onwards. So hopefully it should be pretty hassle free, which is nice, as all the other USB debug clip type things I've used, serial consoles have needed drivers, and every time I update OS X they need to be reinstalled. So this should be quite nice to have a debug console clip that doesn't need the drivers updating, but we'll give that a go in a bit.